Good afternoon to all our wonderful participants to this afternoon's Heritage Hour organized by MOCA. Yeah, and the topic for this afternoon's talk is Trees and Us by Arti Das. Yeah, Arti will be speaking about 10 trees which we commonly find in our urban and rural spaces of Goa, as well as the role that trees play in our biodiversity and how they are an integral part of our culture, identity, and history. Most of us know Arti, have met her, seen her, read her articles in the newspapers. But let me share a little bit about Arti with those who don't know her too well. Arti is a freelance journalist based in Goa. She writes about culture, art, ecology, and has been published in various publications: Atlas Obscura, Whetstone Magazine, The Hindu, Scroll In, and locally, currently with the Gomantak Times, but also in the past with the Naveen Times. In March 2020, I think during the pandemic, she started a blog on trees titled Trees We Love, where she features and writes about a tree every month. I have been reading her blogs every month, and very interesting, very fascinating blogs that she writes on these trees. And today she's going to talk and share all the information she has, but not about all the trees, just a few trees that we have around us. So over to you, Arti. Before Arti starts, I request you all to mute yourselves. Yeah, most of you all are already muted. And if you have questions or feedback for Arti, please leave it in the chat box. We will take it up at the end of her presentation. And over to you now, Arti. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Natasha, for that beautiful introduction. I just want to say that I'm glad that this Heritage Hour is trees are included in this Heritage Hour, because when I think of heritage, for me, it's not just about built structures and huge monuments. It's also about our natural heritage, about our forest, about our rivers, oceans. So for me, heritage is amalgamation of both these things. So I'm happy and glad that the trees are part of this heritage. So I will start my session. I'll just share my screen. Natasha, can you see this poster?
Yes, Arti. Yes, very clear.
Okay. Before I start this session formally, I just want to make it very clear that I am not a botanist or a plant scientist by profession. As you mentioned, I am a freelance journalist, and I'm always curious to know more about trees, and I'm always fascinated by them. So because of that fascination and curiosity, I started documenting trees around 2 years ago. So this is my way of learning trees. I would also like to take this opportunity to talk about Dr. Usha Desai. She is a tree expert and conducts tree walks in Mumbai. She has done more than 100 tree walks in Mumbai with her friend Reni Vyas. So whenever she's in Goa, she conducts such walks here for us. We have a motley group of people who are part of this tree walking group. So we usually conduct these walks in Panjim and Polvoring, and we talk about various trees which are all around us. The interesting part of this talk is that this is not just to share the botanical information about trees, but it is sharing and talking about trees through stories, through historical events, through songs, through recipes, and how trees play such an important role in our biodiversity. So you learn about trees from various spheres and not just through scientifically or through botanically, which is an important source to learn, but also through other means. So this makes tree walks very interesting and intriguing. So during these tree walks, I gathered a lot of information, and as suggested by Dr. Desai, She told me, why don't you share this information? Because you're a journalist, you can always write about it. It will be easier for you to understand. So with that thought in my mind, I started this blog in March 2020 called Trees We Love. I started this blog in just before the pandemic will hit us. At that time, we didn't know we'll go through lockdown and we'll go through this whole phase of pandemic. And when I started, I didn't intend to do many trees. I just thought that I'll just do few, like 4 or 5. But then this whole process made me connected to nature in a very different way. So I thought I'll continue doing this. So till now I documented 29 trees and I just love writing about them every month. What I do is I feature a tree which is flowering or fruiting at that point in that month. So if anyone who is reading it, it becomes easier for them to go out and identify this tree. Another main reason why I wanted to do this tree blogging because of our shrinking green spaces and continuous threats to our forest. So it is necessary to speak about these issues and importantly to know about our biodiversity, as then we are in a better position to conserve it. We are losing our backyard forest, open spaces, and along with it the indigenous knowledge. Now most of us may not even able to identify trees which are beyond the obvious ones. And also I want to focus on why it is necessary to have trees around us. So taking a cue from here, I'm sharing information about the 10 trees which are commonly found in our urban and rural spaces. Like anybody of you go out, you will definitely find these 10 trees. I'm starting with the Gulmohar tree. I'm sure most of you all know to identify this tree because of its beautiful orange color, bright flower canopy. So the botanical name of this tree is Delonix regia. And in this image you see here, it's a beautiful tree at the Museum of Christian Art, just outside the Museum of Christian Art. Sadly, this tree is not here anymore because it couldn't withstand the lightning that happened in April last April. So sadly, it's not here it's not standing tall anymore. I believe having a tree in any green space gives so much character to it. So I'm starting my tree walk in, you can say, the memory of this tree. Speaking about the characteristic of the Gulmohar tree, it comes to life in March with new foliage of fern-like compound leaves, followed by spoon-shaped flowers. It usually flowers in May, so sometimes it is also known as Mayflower. One may assume that this is a native tree, especially when you look at its local name, Gulmohar. But actually this tree belongs to Madagascar and migrated to India in 19th century. It is recorded it was first cultivated in Sivri, a place near Mumbai in 1840. It can grow up to 30 to 40 feet tall and does well in warm climate and in any soil. Doesn't require much of care also. But its roots are quite shallow and thus cannot withstand strong winds. The tree is quite popular among children as its flowers and dry pods, as you can see here, are used in many outdoor games. Its petals looks like claws if stuck to your fingernails, as its flower has a gummy side and its dry pods are used as swords. These simple games for children are a great way to develop a relationship with our neighborhood trees and also to bring in some creativity. One interesting aspect of this tree is that it is now rarely found in the wild spaces of its native country, but it is doing really well where it was introduced. One argument about exotic trees. Exotic trees mean the trees which were introduced in a new biodiversity where it naturally doesn't belong. That it becomes invasive. It starts taking up the other native trees and start growing really fast. Birds don't make nest on them. But I have seen a bird nest on Gulmohar trees. Also, experts believe that if a tree is here for more than 100 years, it does get naturalized in the process. Also, in all these years, this Gulmohar tree has become part of our lives as it has found place in our stories, poems, art, etc. The second tree I want to talk about is also found here in Old Goa. It is at the entrance of the Basilica of the Bomb Jesus. I'm sure most of you all must have seen this tree, especially when it's in full bloom. It is known as the pink trumpet tree with a botanical name Tabebuia rosea. It is a semi-evergreen tree that grows 20 to 30 feet tall with its impressive flowering display. The tree is often cultivated as an ornamental plant in the tropical world. In the spring season, that's around the month of February, this tree comes to life as it starts flowering in the light shade of pink. This impressive flower display is worth seeing. As I mentioned, the best ones are outside the Basilica of Born Jesus and also outside the Say Cathedral Gardens. This tree is native to South America. Its pods have wing seeds and the bark of the tree is considered medicinal. Many a times it is confused with cherry blossom, especially its flowers when it is in full bloom. But as we know, cherry blossom is a tree found in the colder regions, but this tree is very tropical. The next tree on my list is one of the most common trees of Goa. It is the rain tree with the botanical name Albizia salmoni. It is a tree with massive canopy and a huge trunk. They are the ideal avenue trees, and the best ones are found on the Kampal Road at Panji. The first image that comes to our mind when we think of Panji is the DB Road or the Kampal Road and the engulfing rain trees. The tree is also easily identified due to its umbrella-like canopy that has feathery foliage and pink puff flowers. It is an ideal avenue tree because of its ability to keep the symmetrical conformation in spite of prevailing winds. As this tree is so common, it is sometimes assumed that it is a native species. However, it has come from Central America to Sri Lanka and then to India to use as a railway fuel. One may wonder why it is called a rain tree. There are some interesting reasons behind it. The leaves of this tree are sensitive to light, so they fold up at night or when it starts to rain. Also, sometimes one may experience a rain of mist under this tree, which is actually a discharge of few insects residing on this tree. This is a beautiful canopy formed by these rain trees on the Kampal Road. Speaking about the characteristics, it sheds its leaves in winter, and as the spring season begins, green foliage comes up, following by its flowers. Thus, it protects us from the summer heat with its thick shade and pleasant look. In Panji city, these trees were planted during the Portuguese rule by the then mayor of the city, Dr. Fraulein de Mello, probably from 1940s to 1950s. From then on, it has stuck with Panji's identity. The best example of this is the citizen protest in 2002 when Panjimites came on the road to protest against the felling of these massive rain trees for road widening. Due to this, the plan was shelved and it also made citizens vigilant and watch out for these trees. This is a beautiful image of the Kampal Road and it's just breathtaking for me. The next tree on my list is also an avenue tree, which is known as the copper pot tree, with the botanical name Peltrophorum petrocarpus. It is known for its canopy of bright yellow delicate flowers. These papery flowers tend to fly with the wind and thus create a carpet of yellow flowers, especially on Panji's busy street, the 18 June Road. This road is lined with this tree, giving the required shade, breeze, and most importantly, beautiful flowers to look at. The whitewashed Our Lady of Immaculate Conception Church on this road that's beautifully contrasted with the yellow and green of this canopy of this tree. Copperpot is a deciduous tree that grows up to 15 to 25 meters and it has two feathery compound leaves. After flowering, the tree is laden with copper-colored pods, as you can see here, and that's why the name. The tree is native to Sri Lanka, Andamans, and Malay Peninsula and North Australia. However, It is grown in mainland India since around 19th century. It has naturalized. Its flower attracts a lot of butterflies, bees, and many other insects. One fact about these trees is they are one of the first trees of the Panji city which were transplanted around a decade ago from the main city of Panji to Karanjale. At that time, it was argued that they may not survive the shock of transplantation. Thus, some died, but some survived and are now thriving. Recently, also, one tree on the 18 June road was revived, which had fallen due to cyclone that Goa experienced in May 2021. These trees near the Karanjale circle gives ample shade, giving respite to a passerby and also makes for an ideal place for quick afternoon nap for vendors. And when it is flowering, the whole atmosphere becomes quite dreamy, as with little breeze, one can get to experience the rain of these yellow flowers. In urban spaces, there are not only flowering trees, but there are also some majestic trees which show their magic in a very quiet way. I'm speaking about the Java olive tree with a botanical name, Sterculia fetida. It is originally from East Africa and North Australia. It is known for its height and heart-shaped pods. This tree can grow really tall, up to 35 meters, and has a beautiful canopy. It is locally known as Madi. The branches of this tree grow horizontally and starts flowering by January, February, after it sheds all its leaves in winter. It almost looks like a dead tree, as you can see here in this image. But then just wait for a few days and comes back to life with new orange colored leaves and maroon brown colored flowers, which are drooping down, and it produces a stench. That's why its botanical name is also derived from this. Its flowers have no petals, and male and female flowers are separate. The best specimen to see this tree just outside the electricity department office of Vidyut Bhavan near the ferry point in Panji, as you see in this image here. The other is in the garden area of the head post office near the entrance. Another place to find this tree is outside any church in Goa. As you can see in this image here, this is the Holy Family Church at Margao. There's also another massive tree near the Santa Cruz Church. Tree expert Miguel Braganza, while speaking about this tree, informed that this tree is normally planted near the belfry on the day of the Fama or 10 days before the feast. It is believed that this tree, due to its height, it can withstand a lightning effect and thus saving the metal bell of the church. He also informed that it is known as the Madi tree, as its trunk was used as a Madi or a mast to erect the Novena pennant. This is the chapel inside the Kabdiram fort here in Kankon, and this is the tree standing next to it. After flowering of this tree, its fruiting season begins. Its pods open up almost in a heart shape and contains many seeds. These seeds are considered edible after toasting. They also contain oil and believed to have medicinal properties. When these pods dry up, they curl and sometimes look like a hood of a cobra snake. And because of this reason, it is also sometimes termed as a nagin or a snake tree. Speaking of tall trees in urban spaces, there's another species that comes to my mind, and that is the devil's tree. The botanical name, Alstonia scholaris. This tree has many names: scholar's tree, blackboard tree, saptaparni, and is locally known as satan. If you visit Panji, you will spot them at various places across the city. The best ones are found around the Altino area, especially around the Joggers Park. This tree's main feature is that it has 7 leaves clubbed together into a bunch. Thus the name Saptaparni means 7 leaves. As you can see here in this image, these are all 7 leaves clubbed together like a bunch. Even though, however, unlike other club leaves, These trees are not compound, but simple leaves. I'm sure even if doesn't know how to identify this tree, one must have surely got attracted to its heavily scented flowers when you are walking under this tree, especially late in the evening. This is a beautiful tree in Porvorim which Dr. Usha clipped. It is laden and filled with flowers. The heady and almost intoxicating smell comes from the cluster of these tiny light green flowers which actually bloom at night, thus attracting many flies, bees, and also humans. It is also commonly believed that the flowering of this tree heralds the arrival of winters in Goa. It starts flowering from mid-October till December and fruiting in March. Its fruit resembles slender beans. The tree can grow up to 40 meters or 130 feet. Owing to its erect posture and height, it is also confused with the Java olive tree, the tree which we just discussed. The devil's tree is also known for its bark as it has medicinal properties. It is also used in making of slates and blackboards, and thus the botanical name Scholaris. Its first name, Alstonia, is derived from an Edinburgh botany professor, C. Alston. The tree was also favorite of Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore, and thus there was a custom at the prestigious Visvabharati University in West Bengal, which he founded, to gift a twig of this tree to the students on their convocation. It was because Tagore believed that according to ancient wisdom, knowledge is received from 7 directions, and thus students' growth should be in all 7 directions, just like these leaves. However, this tree sadly is not favored by many. People often find the scent of these flowers too strong, and there are even reports of cutting down of this tree because of this reason. It is due to its smell, and it is also shunned by cattle. It is also known as devil's tree. But it is ideal for cities as it grows easily, gives ample shade, propagates easily as the seeds have white threads and are carried far by the wind. It is also believed that it can withstand pollution. So this one tree has many uses, especially in urban areas. The next tree I'm speaking about is the kadam tree, with a botanical name Neolambrica cadamba. It is an ideal tree for tea plantation programs as it grows fast, has thick foliage, and an impressive canopy. One may wonder it is just an avenue tree, but it is associated with our history, art, and of course mythology. That's not all. The Indian Postal Department issued a stamp in the year 1977 depicting this tree to celebrate it. The tree can grow up to a height of 45 meters and is native to India and is known for its medicinal properties. The attractive part of this tree is its flowers. It has this unusual round shape, has sweet fragrance, and is used to make perfumes. The fruit of a similar shape to flowers, and it has contains around 8,000 seeds. It has a special place in Goa as it is associated with the Kadam dynasty which ruled Goa. It is believed that the dynasty was born under this tree. It is also part of Indian miniature art as it is associated with Lord Krishna. It is believed that in this miniature art, sometimes Lord Krishna is personified as the Kadam tree. One may find this tree in the Pichwai art of Rajasthan that celebrates Lord Krishna. As you can see in this image here, it's depicted just behind Lord Krishna. There are many such trees that have a lot of religious and cultural importance. The best example is the banyan tree with a botanical name Ficus bengalaninis. It is a ficus with aerial roots, locally known as wood. It is so easily found in our public spaces that we hardly even notice it. However, it receives much attention during some festivals like the Vada Purnima, which is usually held in June. On this day, married ladies tie a thread, Hindu married ladies tie a thread to the trunk of this tree and pray for the long lives of their husbands. Due to its religious importance, you will always find a shrine under this tree. In Panji city, there are two prominent road shrines found under this tree. One is at Santines, and it is dedicated to Lord Shiva, and the other one is the famous Kampal Ganesh on the DB road. Here the ficus is actually growing on a rain tree. Both these shrines attract devotees during certain days and festivals. However, one may wonder why these trees were venerated. Unlike other trees, banyan or for that matter, even the peepal tree does not have any attractive flowers or edible fruits, but both play an important role in our ecology. The figs of these trees attract birds, bees, and a particular species of wasp. Research has shown that every species of ficus tree, and there are hundreds of ficus species in the world, there is a unique wasp pollinator, and they pollinate these flowers which are found inside the fig. And that's the reason the ficus tree, like the banyan or the peepal, do not have any flowers to show. The pollination process happens inside the fig. It is actually a false fruit and it is filled with flowers. So when the female wasp enters the fig, after pollination, she dies inside it after laying the eggs. These eggs get mature and then the female wasp mates with the male wasp and these males die within the fig. Then this female wasp, which is born with wings, unlike the male wasp, travel outside the fig with pollens in search of another ficus tree of the same species, thus completing the cycle. This is indeed one of the most intriguing, fascinating, and complex reproductive systems in nature. It also speaks about interdependence as both wasp and ficus trees share a special bond. Thus, any threat to any of them will hamper the ecosystem. And as this tree supports so many species of birds, butterflies, squirrels, bats, etc. So having this tree, especially in urban spaces, makes a lot of difference. Here I want to share this image. This is banyan tree, considered as one of the oldest banyan trees of Goa. It is found at the Partagali mud in Kankan. If you may wonder, these are like various trees, but actually it's offshooting of the one tree only, and these are the roots, aerial roots. And these are given rise to more trees. So this is like a banyan tree forest in a way. You can easily go and see this place. The next tree on my list is the Ameltas or the golden shower tree with a botanical name Cassia fistula. This is also known as avenue tree as it is known for its pretty bright grape-like bunch of yellow flowers. It is native to India. It can grow up to a height of 40 feet. The fruits of this tree are dark brown colored pods, which consist of many seeds, which are hard to shell out and have a sticky substance that is sweet. One wonders how these seeds get dispersed and how this tree gets propagated. The answer to this question came way back in 1911 when British forestry expert Robert Scott Troop discovered that these pods are eaten by jackals and then seeds are swallowed, which are then disseminated through its excreta. These pods are also eaten by pigs, bats, monkeys, all help in dispersing this seed far and wide. Ameltas is also considered medicinal and is also mentioned in Ayurveda. It is used as a medicine for skin ailments and stomach disorders. The flower of this tree is the state flower of Kerala, as it is an integral part of the Vishu festival of Kerala, which usually held in mid-April. It is also the national flower of Thailand, as it is believed that the yellow flowers symbolize high royalty. The tree is frequently cultivated in Buddhist temples in Sri Lanka, and in Laos, the flowers are associated with the Laos New Year. These flowers are also edible and is used to make chutney in some parts of the country. Its nectar attracts many birds, butterflies, and bees like the carpenter bees. The tree comes to life when it is fully bloomed. Standing under this tree, suddenly you feel refreshed and gives respite from the heat, from the summer heat, and some time for all the worries of the world. In Goa, it is found sparsely along highways. If you want to see the splendor, the best place is the municipal garden at Margao. The garden is lined with these trees. So when it flowers, the view is just breathtaking, especially when it's stuck in a traffic jam. It is also believed that the rainy season starts 40 days after this tree has bloomed. But now it has been observed that there is a change in the flowering season of this tree. Many believe it could be an indicator of climate change. This brings to my last tree on the list. Actually, it is not just one tree, but various types of coniferous or pine trees, which are part of one of Goa's biggest festival, which is Christmas. So what are coniferous or pine trees? They are the trees that have needles instead of leaves. They don't change color in fall, and they use cones instead of flowers to spread their seeds. And as these are evergreen trees, they are used to celebrate during winter's festivals as they symbolize fertility and new life. Many coniferous trees are used for Christmas celebrations around the world. In Goa, the most common one is the cook pine, as you can see in this image here. The botanical name Araucaria columnaris. It was first classified by botanists working on Captain James Cook's second voyage of exploration. That's the common name. It is native to a group of islands in the South Pacific. Does anybody wonder why this tree tilts in one direction? A 2017 study found that this tree tend to have a tilt dependent on the hemisphere of their location, growing upright on the equator, but leaning south in the northern hemisphere and north in the southern hemisphere. In Goa, I can easily find this tree outside any church, chapel, gardens, public parks. This particular species actually does well in warm climates. However, planting this exotic tree is quite a new phenomenon in Goa. There was always a tradition of decorating branches of casuarina trees, which is also known as whistling Australian pine or suri in local language. Its botanical name is Casuarina equisetifolia. It is commonly found on our beaches, and it is an exotic tree that came from Australia. The species is named as equisetifolia as its leaves resembles a horse's tail. It is considered as an ideal windbreaker and can easily grow. That could be the reason why it is planted on beaches. The soft singing of the air through its innumerable slender twigs is a pleasant sound, which lends its another common name, whistling pine. Along with these pine trees, there is also a tradition using a mangrove plant during the Christmas celebration. It is known as sea holly, with the botanical name Acanthus ilicifolius, as its leaves look like a spiny holly leaves. It starts blooming in December with pretty purple flowers and for almost 6 months. When spots ripen, they explode and seeds can disperse up to 2 meters. The other plant which is used for Christmas decoration is the mistletoe, with the botanical name Viscum album. It is believed that the plant has magical powers and medicinal properties. It is also associated with fertility and new life. Mistletoe actually is a semi-parasitic shrub that grows on other trees. Like here in Goa, I have seen growing on mango trees. I never thought that I would find this magical plant in my backyard, but I did. It was during a tree walk with Dr. Usha at Goa University campus at Bamboli. Along with these plants, there are many other exotic species of pines which are part of Christmas celebrations. I just shared a few to give an idea of how our festivals are a direct reflection of our biodiversity, which we need to be celebrated. With this, I end my topic on the 10 trees of Goa. And now I would like to mention about the state trees of Goa. I'm sure most of you must be wondering, like, which is this, the state tree of Goa. Actually, in Goa, we don't have one, but two state trees. The first one is none other than the coconut, with a botanical name, Cocos nucifera. It is associated with Goa's identity, culture, cuisine, handicraft, built heritage, almost everything. It was notified as a state tree in 2017 after the infamous controversy in 2016 when the state government dropped the tree status to the coconut. This led to a massive agitation and thus it was made as a state tree in 2017. Speaking about this tree can live for more than 100 years. The best ones are found in the Benalim in South Goa. Actually, if we look at our past, we realize that coconut tree was the backbone of our economy. According to Victor Hugo Gomes of Goa Chitra, in Goa, around 11 traditional trades center around coconut trees. Most of these trades do not exist now. The coconut plucking itself originated around 7 professions. The popular professions are the padeli or the coconut plucker and of toddy tappers. Toddy tappers actually climb this tree 3 times a day to collect toddy, which is then used to make toddy vinegar, jaggery, coconut fenny, etc. The trunk of the mature coconut tree was used to make rafters or washe, which was used while building houses. The person who made this also was known as washekar. The leaves or a palm is used to weave molla, and it is used for shading or as a covering for huts. The midrib of this palm is used to make broom, which is locally known as sarni, and it is an integral part of any Goan household. There are many such uses of this tree. I just mentioned few of them. No wonder it is called as the Kalpavriksha, wish fulfilling tree. The next state tree of Goa is actually a forest species and it is known as Indian laurel or matti tree with a botanical name Terminalia elliptica. It is also known as the crocodile bark tree because if you look at its bark, it resembles the back of a crocodile. This tree has a fascinating feature and that it can store water in its trunk in dry season and its bark and this water is considered medicinal. It can grow up to 30 meters tall. It was declared as a state tree to create awareness about this native forest species. The wood of this tree is heavily used to make furniture, for shipbuilding, for railroad sleepers, etc. The fruit of this tree is pale green in color, is oval in shape with 5 beans. It has a lot of cultural importance in Goa as it is used to decorate maturi. It is said that the maturi is incomplete without its fruit. Here you can see it is hung just above the idol. For those of you who do not know what is maturi, maturi is a wooden canopy erected above the Ganesh idol during the Ganesh Chaturthi festival held in August, September, and it is the ultimate celebration of biodiversity in Goa. If you look here, you will realize it is a maturi consists of a lot of fruits, vegetables, flowers, tubers, roots, which are edible, which are non-edible, which are toxic. So this is in a way to educate younger generation, like which fruits are edible, which fruits are not, which are cultivated, which are wild. So it's almost like an information board. Like here you can learn everything in one go. And it was now they actually go to market and buy all these products, all these fruits and vegetables. But traditionally, it was a system that you go to your backyard forest and you collect whatever is available in your backyard forest. So that was this whole philosophy behind this method. With this, I would like to end my presentation. But before that, I want to speak about the issue that's all around us. All these trees which we discuss here are under tremendous threat due to various reasons, be it construction or widening of roads, bridges, building of real estate, etc. Our trees are getting chopped down somewhere down the road as we speak. We have seen these trees are home to so many species of birds, bees, reptiles, mammals. So in order to conserve our natural heritage, we need to be aware and make sure that these green spaces are not under constant threat. Thus, it is necessary to know about our biodiversity, and I believe that learning about trees is a first step. As my mentor and guru, Dr. Usha, always says, conservation will happen when you love something. When you love trees, you will need to know more about them, to understand them. And this understanding of trees will help you to develop a bond with them. So, on that note, I end my talk here. Thanks once again to Museum of Christian Art for giving me this opportunity. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arti, for that wonderful journey that you took us on to explore the various trees in around us in Goa, and for telling us a little bit about how it came into Goa, how they are used culturally, and how relevant they are to us till date, and how we must make efforts for tree conservation. I would like all our participants to put your questions or feedback or any comments in the chat box. There are already 2 here, so we'll take these first. This is from Leslie. He says, hello, where in Kanakona can we see the banyan forest from single trees vertical roots?
This is a place called Partagali Mutt. It is in Kankon Taluka, the southernmost taluka of Goa. It's around like 80-85 kilometers from Panjim. So if you go towards the Koengini, you see the huge structure saying Partagali Mutt. You just take the road inside, and I'm sure somebody will be able to guide you. It's in an open space, actually. Anybody can go there.
Okay, so Partagali Mutt it is. For,
yeah.
If Leslie would like
it's a very famous. It's a very famous place there. So.
Yes. So for all those who would like to go and see this single tree, which is spread out across the whole forest, it's at Partagali Mutt. Heta Pandit has made a comment on to say, interesting that a broom in Gujarati is also called a Savarni. What do we call it, Arti, in Konkani?
In Konkani, we call it San.
San. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there are any other questions, please do drop them in the chat box. Leslie says thank you, and that he will look for the tree. And we have Anvia who says, Anvia is from Kerala. Was it the Portuguese who popularized coconut cultivation in Goa?
Don't know, but I believe coconut plantation was always part of Goa, Goa's identity. Maybe economically they must have helped to revive in some way, but I don't know. I think the best person will be Victor know about it. Yeah.
So, okay.
What are the different names of the devil tree? Okay, the local name is the Satan. Because it's Satan also means devil in Konkani. The other name is Saptaparni because it has a clubbing of 7 leaves together. And then there's a scholar's tree. It's derived from its botanical name. And also the blackboard or a blackboard tree because it's wood was used to make blackboards and slates.
Okay, so I think it answers your question, Sean. Then Lorraine says, yes, there are documents that referring to the coconut groves much going back to 1500. Yes, so I think it was something that was already existing. And Anvia's question was whether it got popularized, but I think our whole landscape, and because we are in the coastal region, it was already grown widely in Goa. More messages. We have from Kavita, thank you message, Arti. And from Vijaya, what are the trees we can plant in our locality to increase the biodiversity? Trees which thrive and grow easily in any environment. Is there any suggestion?
I think any native species should be good enough because they attract a lot of butterflies and bees. Like this amalthus I spoke about because it looks beautiful and it also attracts the carpenter bees. So like the kadam also grows very fast. So and if you go around like Panjim, Miramar Beach near the circle, the new plants which we have planted on this edge of that new development which they did beautification, they actually planted all kadam trees there and they have grown very fast, just 1 or 2 years. So ideally, one should see the native trees in that specific locality, in that particular biodiversity, not just Goa, but particular particular village or locality.
Rutuja, you have a question. If you can put it in the chat box, that would be great. Niyati asks if we can inform about the local trees available at the Valkini Forest Nursery.
Nursery, yeah. If anybody is interested to buy native trees of Goa, forest species basically, not just native also, there is a place called Valkini in Sange. So it's a nursery, plant nursery where you can get different types of local trees. And they have this tree something like to promote trees, planting of promote trees. So they give 5 saplings per person free, the forest department. I think it's open till September or something.
Okay, so you're saying that the Valkini is one, which is in Sange, and the forest department also gives
No,
this, or it's in the same
the forest, it's the same thing. But if you go to any nursery managed by forest department, like here at Kampal, there also you get 5 saplings. But here you don't find so many forest species. That nursery in Valkini has a really good collection of forest species.
Okay, all right. You have many suggestions for organizing more webinars. I think besides the webinars, we should also start doing more tree walks around our spaces.
Yeah.
And each one should take the initiative for the areas that they are in and organize this for your local community, for children from that area who can walk and learn along with whoever is the resource person. It could be Arti, it could be somebody else, or it could be the children themselves who become the resource people to talk about the trees around them. Yeah, so there is so much that we can all do to bring about awareness and for tree conservation. Thanks, Sean, for your comments. Would you be, Sean asked, would we be able to share the recording of this presentation? Yes, the recording will be available shortly on the Museum of Christian Art's YouTube channel, maybe in a couple of days' time, and you can then watch it there and even share it with others. Thank you. Lorraine Fernandez, we'll take only another few questions. Lorraine asks about edible plants. She enjoyed the learning that amalthus are edible. Okay. A lot of thank you messages coming your way, Arti, for the informative session. Any other feedback before we end this session? Thank you, Anvia, for your comments, and really appreciate the feedback that we've got for this session. So Heritage Hour, yes, we focus on different topics. We focus on the built heritage as well as nature that surrounds us. It's very important, the balance between the two. We coexist, like Arti right in her first slide showed us the Gulmohar and the beautiful Gulmohar outside the Museum of Krishna, which fell in April this year due to the lightning and heavy winds. But that does not deter us from planting more trees around us every time, because the landscape around us is beautiful and green and contrasts very well with the white of the building. Thank you all. Thank you. Oh, we lost Arti for a bit. We'll just wait for her to join again. Arti, are you in? You can unmute yourself, Arti.
Yeah, the
We
connection.
lost you there. The network went off, I think, for you. But yes.
Somebody asked about edible.
Yeah, I think she said that she enjoyed the information about the just a minute. Enjoyed learning that amalthus are edible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, actually, I have not come across this practice in Goa, but I was just researching and I found that people actually make chutney out of it. I think in South India, I think it's quite common. Also, there's another flower called kinjal or bouginia, they have pink flowers. There's also a chutney made from those pink flowers also. There is quite a big tradition of using flowers for cooking, also in Goa, but not which I mentioned.
okay.
Actually, there is a flower called Sursurechi Fula. It just blooms when the monsoon starts, and they use these are very tiny white flowers, like a bunch of tiny white flowers, and they are like cooked to make chutney with coconut. So there is a big tradition of eating flowers.
Okay, so flower chutneys are very popular and I think must be healthy as well. There is, Arti, maybe you can in the chat box put down your email for those who want to get in touch with you directly to know more about trees and any other information, and also who may want to organize tree walks in their area. So you can leave your email there. And Snehal has a question for us. Is there a spice factory in Goa and how many spice plants are there? There are spice plantations, Snail, many of them around Goa, and people are also, it's also open to visitors to visit these spice plantations in around Ponda. I think there are many spice plantations.
Now they have become like a very easier way to attract tourists. Like they have this walk around the spike plantation followed by the walk and then followed by the lunch, which is like fish thali and vegetarian thali, and it's like when they talk about the different spices. I think the best one is the Tanshikar farm in Netravali.
Okay.
The guy has a very good knowledge about spices and trees in general. You can also stay.
All right. Okay, Snehal, we got it. All right. So I think with this, we will close the chat. For those who want Arti's email contact, she's put it out there, and do follow Arti's blog. It's really very interesting. Once a month, she chooses the tree for the month and writes about it. So do follow her blog, read about the trees that she writes on, and do contact her if you'd like to do a talk on trees or do a tree walk. And I encourage you all to do tree walks in your areas around with the community wherever you live. And do visit Mocha, which is also surrounded by beautiful trees. Whenever you have the time, we are open 7 days a week from 10 in the morning to 5 in the evening. So once again, thank you very much, Arti, for today's very informative talk and presentation on trees around us. Thank you all for taking time out from your Sunday to be with us, and have a lovely end to this Sunday, and have a good week.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks, Mocha, for this opportunity.
Thanks, Arti.